Good evening and welcome to Diggers and Dozers Live. I'm your host, Mark Anthony, and I'm very excited tonight, actually, to bring you tonight's show because we'll be getting up close and personal with the latest addition to the Komatsu dozer range. That's the D71PXi-24. And yes, that is a mouthful, but I'm going to have to get used to it. Now, before we get started, I wanted to let you know that I've actually got a scale model of the machine in question. I don't know how well you can see that. It helps if I don't put it upside down. That's what it looks like. And we're going to be giving that away at some point during this evening. What we're going to do, we're going to take entries throughout the show and we'll gather them all together and then choose one at random from all of the correct entries we get. So before we start the show properly, here for the first time of asking is the question that you need to answer in order to get a chance to win that model. If you visit the Marubeni Komatsu website and look at the dozer section, you'll see that the smallest machine listed there is the D71PXi-24. What we want to know is, in horsepower, what is the engine power listed for that machine? If you just post your comments in the or your answer in the comment section below, as I say, we'll gather them all together and we'll call out the winner at the end of the show. We will be posting the question again several times throughout the show, so if you've missed it this time, we will be reiterating it anyway. But in the meantime, let's get on with the show. Now, in a minute, I'll be joined by Marubeni Komatsu's Rob Wilmot. Now, Rob's been with Marubeni Komatsu since 1995, and he's worked his way up from apprentice to area sales manager, where he covers the west, south, and east of Yorkshire and Derbyshire. So my guess that is very much dozer country. According to one of Rob's colleagues, he has tons of knowledge on all things Komatsu. And that's likely to come in very handy tonight because we've got a slightly odd format to the show tonight. I was fortunate enough to see the D71PXi-24 in the flesh during ConExpo back in March. But to be honest, I know virtually nothing about the machine. Rob Wilmot, meanwhile, knows all about the machine, but it's so new and the world has been so mental since ConExpo, he hasn't actually seen it yet. So we're hoping that between the two of us, we can unpick this exciting new machine. Now, while I'm keying Rob up, let's just take a moment to see what one of Rob's American colleagues had to say about the machine way back in March before the world went mad.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Telemail, product manager for Komatsu hydrostatic transmission dozers. I'm here at ConExpo 2020 where we unveiled the D71PXi-24. This is our newest and largest HST dozer with our super slant-nosed cab-forward design. This machine features our IMC 2.0 with patented Corrective Dozer Control, which can run in fully automatic 100% of the time. At 237 horsepower at 52,000 pounds, it has the best in-class horsepower to weight ratio. It also features our new next generation Komatsu Plus rotating bushing undercarriage.
Good evening, Rob. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good evening, Mark. Thank you.
We've just had a very quick glimpse there of the brand spanking new machine. But before we get on to that, I think it's worth reiterating the fact that Komatsu is far from being a new arrival in the dozer market. You were telling just before we came on air, you've been in the market, well, not you personally, but Komatsu as a company has been in the dozer market for, what, 90 years?
Yeah, very close to 90 years. I know we're today looking at all modern things like intelligent machine controls and that, but yeah, back in the 1930s or very early 30s, that's what you can really call what Komatsu's first dozer was. It was the G25. You could probably call it a little bit more what they used to call back then a track type tractor. So that's what you call, you got your crawler tracks. Didn't really have a blade on the front as such. It was more used for towing in the 30s. So, but that's when the word is, or as you look back in history, we'd call that our first bulldozer. Then when you get into the sort of beginning of the 1940s, Komatsu then launched or made the G40 for the Japanese Navy. And this is where the dozer blade or a straight blade became sort of available and we used them because obviously then through the war, they were all around the Pacific sort of islands. I must admit, 6 years ago, I was very lucky. I did manage to see one of the very early 1940s dozers actually on a shipwreck in the Pacific and still very intact after 70 years and very impressive to see. But the one thing that did come home was how small they were back then. Modern dozers today are big, back then they were smaller than, you know, the size of a very old Mini. So it was very, very small compared to today's dozers. Once you get them through into maybe 1949, that's when the diesel engine was launched or became available to Komatsu, and that's when that started to come into the dozer. So that's when it became diesel power rather than gasoline power. Didn't really change a lot for it next sort of 2 decades up into the 60s. Slowly dozers are getting bigger. That's when they then launched, the model started to change, so it became a D for dozer. So you got the D60s and the D80s. Through into the 70s, again, everything's getting larger. So then there's the D155 and the D355. As we then move into the sort of 1980s, or the late 1980s, that's when they launched Komatsu the largest production bulldozer, which was the D575, weighing 130 ton. As of today, that is no longer made. It was stopped production probably in the I think it was 2012 or 2013. I think it was to do with the engine regulations. Maybe at some point we might see that come back. Today, the largest production dozer we make is the D475, which is 112 ton. And there's been a recent one delivered somewhere, I think, through the virus into Eastern Europe. So again, it'd be nice to see some information on that soon. As we then move into the sort of 1990s, or really the late 90s, that's when the sort of 6-way PAT blade is what we'll talk about on the D71 comes in. Once the construction changed, or the demanding construction changed, instead of being just a straight blade, which was ideal for mining and stripping, the dozer needs to become more versatile. Once you add a 6-way blade in, it needs to be able to sort of, the turning ability needs to greatly improve. So with the arrival of the PAT blade, then the design or the change of the dozer that's when we launched is what they call the PX model, which is what we know today. So sure. PX is powered crawler, the P, and the X is hydrostatic steering. So even then, in the 90s or late 90s, it still had a power shift transmission, but the steering was hydrostatic, which allowed you then to have power, or 100% power, even through the turn. So your dozer becomes more agile, really, in today's modern small construction works. Then it really starts to get interesting, because that's probably when all the design teams start really looking at that sort of small construction market. And then as we head into the early 2000s, 2007, which was quite a radical change, that's when we launched the D51PX. And that's what we then, as what people know as today, is our super slant nose design. So we had the 51 with a sloping nose. So it just drastically changed the industry for visibility around the dozer, which you've probably sat in that 71 in Vegas, and the visibility is just so impressive. Once the 51 was received well throughout the industry, then I think the next game changer from Komatsu was in 2013, when they launched the larger, the D71PXi-24. And again, that was a super slant nose design. And that's when it then, well, the 51, the 61 went away from the power shift transmission and went into hydrostatic transmission drive, or drive for the smaller construction machines. And that then pretty much brings us up to 2020, or nearly early 2021, and then we'll soon see the D71. So that's just a little 90 years of overview of Komatsu's dozer history.
Yeah, I mean, it is fascinating, I think, to see the way that the machines evolve over the years. Obviously, we're in the process of looking back at 75 years of JCB. I think Caterpillar have just had their 95th birthday, so you do tend to look back and you see the progression as you go through time. Now, as I said earlier, I was lucky enough to see the D71PXi in the flesh in Las Vegas. But for those that are unfamiliar with the machine, can you give us some details on its size and its specifications?
Yeah, well, the D71, which, like I say, you're very lucky, and we're all eagerly waiting it, and this virus seems to have really knocked us back at the minute and delayed everything. The 71 is a new model, and it will have what will be a 6-way PAT blade, or power angle tilt. So it will be aimed at that sort of mid construction size, bigger than the D61. So it will come in at 24 tons 915mm trackpads LGP, and a 4.3 meter wide PAT blade. So it's going to be aimed at that sort of mid-sized construction. Reason it was launched or shown, should I say, where you saw it in Vegas, is because the American market is huge it's crying out for that next class up from the 61. So that's why it was shown in Vegas. Europe's eager and we're keen for it. But we currently do, and people say, well, is it different to the D65? No, it's going to be the same class. So it's the same size as what we currently do a D65. We do offer a D65 with a power angle tilt blade currently. That is the model that will cease. The D65 will stay with a straight tilt blade, but the PAT version will become the D71. So the D71 will become a 24-ton dozer with a 6-way power angle tilt.
Now, when I spoke to your US colleagues, there was no firm launch date set for the machine. I'm about to ask you, are we any closer to an actual official launch date yet? My guess is we probably don't know because the world's currently mental.
It's updating, or the information coming through, it is weekly, sometimes dailies. I'd like to say, or I'm keen, because I'm currently talking with customers, that I'd like to see it here in Europe for the start of 2021. Again, who knows what's going to happen in the coming weeks and months and the mad world we've got this year. But if things can get back to some sort of normality, we're expecting to launch and be able to sell the machine from beginning of 2021.
That's fantastic. Well, I look forward to seeing that. Now, before we move on to the next question, let me just remind everyone, we've already had a couple of entries come in. We've got a competition question that will get one lucky winner. That model there, it's actually the machine we're talking about. For your chance to win that, visit the Marubeni Komatsu website and look at the dozer section, and you'll see that the smallest machine listed there is the D71PXi-24. What we want to know is, in horsepower, what is the engine power listed for that machine? Just hit that in the comments below. We'll gather all of those together and we will draw a winner right at the very end of the show. Now, getting back to you, Rob, as you say, I was lucky enough to actually get to sit in the machine while it was on display at ConExpo. Obviously, the machine was sat still, and I'm not a dozer operator, which I'm sure most of the construction industry is very grateful of. But what really struck me was the forward visibility. Now, you've touched on the slant-nosed design, but that really is very, very striking on the D71. Can you tell me more about that? How that's come about and the reasons why?
Yeah, the super slant-nosed design, as Komatsu call it, I say it started in the 51s and 61s, because you need the visibility, and a conventional shape bulldozer, which Komatsu have built for many, many years, does limit that when you have the radiator at the front. So the design at the time, people thought it quite radical and really game-changing. So the 71 follows. So basically now the radiator has moved to the rear. You move the radiator to the rear. You move also your heater matrix and all your aircon unit, which was at the front of the cab, is now to the rear roof of the cab. So basically at the front of you, all you have is the engine, which then allows you to slope the bonnet and it improves the visibility around the front end by 53% against the conventional shape arrangement. So again, because a 6-way PAT blade is going to be more into your sort of agility, versatility, especially with GPS, and you're going to be sort of into slope work, trimming, fine grading. Visibility is key, especially for safety as well. So that's where they really call it the super slow slant-nosed design came.
Now, one of the other features that was highlighted to me by your American colleagues was what they described as Corrective Dozer Control. What exactly is that, and how does it work, and what are the benefits, I guess?
There's a few new features. Corrective Dozer Control. Over here, it's slightly different. Well, again, because it's still early, I've not fully got all the specs. We're going to sort of more call it corrective steering control and power up steering. So there's a few features coming. Terminology in America is a bit different to us. What that's looking at doing is, especially, it's all to help the operator. Everything today is fatigue and more efficiency coming from the site and the operator. Normally, currently, as you're dozing, because the load on the blade, or the displacement of the load can vary. Sometimes you can, maybe it's certain boulders or certain loads. If the load comes onto the blade as you're dozing in a straight line, especially when you're using GPS, it can cause the tractor to deviate, you'll veer off. Then the operator is constantly trying to sort of keep it in his original direction. What the system or the software will do, as it notices or feels that the tractor is veering from its original direction, it will auto-correct for him. So again, that really takes the work away from the operator. He's just concentrating on other things, on his design and where he's going. The tractor will then try to realign from its original direction. The other part to that then is the steering power up. Currently on our HST drive dozers, when you go into the turn, or especially for turning and pushing, yes, you'll slow one track down for the turn, so you keep your 100% drive or power to the tracks, not like many years ago. But what they've now launched, or which will come in the 2.0, is power up steering, which is, as it turns, not only do you slow one side down, you now speed the other side up, so you get increased speed through the turn. So again, this is all new. I'm not seeing it yet, but this is what will be coming on the 71.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned that, because one of the things that was very strongly highlighted while I was over in Vegas was this intelligent machine control software, which obviously is something that most people that are dealing with Komatsu would be familiar with, but we are looking at 2.0. So before we actually go a bit deeper into that, let's have a quick look at a video and see what that's all about. Looks very impressive, doesn't it? Now, I do have questions on that, but before I get on to that, had a comment in here from Peter Haddock talking about the IMC, like the idea of the intelligent control, as it's really something that will support the operators. I don't know if you know Peter, Rob, but he runs the Content with Media podcast, and he focuses a lot on intelligent machine control, smart construction, and all that kind of thing. In actual fact, he's got a separate video on this machine itself. So the fact that he's impressed with that, I think is a very good thing in itself. But going back to the IMC system, what does that actually mean for owners in one breath, I guess, but more specifically for the operators?
Well, there's two parts, obviously, from the owner. IMC, the original IMC, we now call it 2.0, but the original IMC, we've had that for many years, and there's been a big uptake on it. For the operator, it makes life a lot easier, less fatigue. The operator is more productive for longer through the day. So again, he's not having to concentrate all the time, which then, as he gets tired and fatigued, your productivity drops off. So pretty much you can have a very productive operator all day. As the owner, it's all about profit and efficiency. If IMC can sort of do everything, if you can move them up once and do it right and get all your final designs correct, then it's all about more efficiency. So going from the old stake in the grounds out to now modern intelligent machine controls, you can get efficiencies up maybe 60 to 70%. So again, It's all about being more efficient with the job site.
That's superb. Now, I think we are probably getting fairly close to the end of the show now. We've had quite a few entries in on the competition, but while we've got the time, let's see if we can get a few more in. If anyone would like to win a scale model of the machine that we're talking, I'll just keep holding it upside down. I don't know what I'm playing at there. There you go. That's the model in question there. Just hop on over to the Marubeni Komatsu website, look at the Dozers section, and you'll see the smallest machine listed there is the D71PXi-24. All we need to know is, in horsepower, what is the engine power listed for that machine? You just post your answer in the comments below, and we'll get back to that. Look, Rob, I've found that absolutely fascinating, and I'm sure our viewers have as well. While the final few entries for tonight's competition are rolling in, where can viewers find out more? Where's the best place to go? Is it on the Marubeni website, or is it the Komatsu website, or a combination thereof?
Bit of both. You can go on the Marubeni website. Again, we're open to, because the machine we're open, it will be launched for the beginning of 2021. We're expecting to have a full specification brochure, which can be downloaded from either the Marubeni website or Komatsu Europe's website, and possibly we'll have information announced on social or media sites for some part of September. Exactly when, I don't know. But if you do go on the Marubeni website under contacts, I am on there. So my details are on there, my email, my phone numbers. If anyone needs information and they're struggling to find it, please just contact me direct. But we were hoping to have more information in September, and I hopefully look forward to the Dozer being here for January.
That's fantastic stuff. Now, I'm going to close the competition. Before I get on to announcing the winner, Peter Haddock, as I say, at Contact with Media, has just given me the link to his video, which is an interview with your American counterparts. So once I put this up on YouTube, I'll add a link to that. So, you know, you'll be able to see a bit more information there, as well as the Marubeni website. But as I say, the competition is now closed. All the correct entries from Facebook, from YouTube, and 3 other areas as well. They're coming in thick and fast. Can I ask you, Rob, to pick a number between 1 and 107? No, hang on. 11. Between 1 and 111, please.
Go in middle somewhere. 64.
64. Let's have a look. Well, I'll tell you why I'm laughing, Rob. We had a big giveaway a couple of weeks ago, and a guy called Ken Hatcher was a winner of just about every category that we had, and lo and behold, his name's come up again. I don't know why I don't just get him round and just give him everything that we've got. But Ken, you've won again, mate. I'm really pleased for you. So I've already got your address as a result of that. So I'll be getting that model in the post to you very, very soon. Hopefully it'll be tomorrow. In the meantime, Rob, look, it's been absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time, particularly as it is early evening. I'm sure you've got better things to do than sit here chatting to me half the night. I wish you and your colleagues every success with the new Dozer. I'm sure it'll be a great success, and I hope that either myself or Peter Haddock, or possibly even both, will actually get on site to see the thing in action and get some film of it doing its thing.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Now, just one final thing before I sign off and go and dig out Ken Hatcher's postal address. If technology like the intelligent machine control on the Komatsu Dozer we've been talking about tonight is your thing, you might like to join me at 6 o'clock on the 24th of September. I'll be wearing my Demolition News hat rather than the Komatsu hat that I appropriately wore tonight. We're hosting an online exhibition called Demolition Technology, in which, not surprisingly, we will be showcasing the existing and emerging technology that is helping shape the demolition industry of tomorrow. That show will be broadcast live on both YouTube and Facebook, so just search for Demolition News on either platform. Failing that, and if it's a bit easier for you, you can watch the entire show live at 6 p.m. UK time on the 24th of September. Just visit demolitionnews.com on the night. I hope to see you there. My final thanks to Rob. I think his colleague was absolutely right. He does know tons. It might even be worth doing a show purely on the history of the Komatsu Dozer at some point when he's got time and perhaps the world's in a better place. In the meantime, thanks ever so much for watching. Thanks, Rob, for your time. Thanks for everyone that entered the competition. Thanks, Ken, once again. I might have to ban you in the future. In the meantime, until next time, good night and thanks for watching.